G'day viewers, my name is Michael and welcome to Single Racer. And now I don't normally do proper hardware reviews simply because I don't have always the access to the high-end gear that you need to do those proper professional reviews. And so if you've come here hoping to see a professional review on the Track Racer FS3 premium racing stand, then I recommend two other channels, and I'll have a link to those two in the description. The first one is William Marsh over at the Sim Racing Paddock, and the other one is our own Aussie Stig. But at this point you might be asking yourself, well, why am I doing the review then if there are two high quality reviews already out there? Well, that's because there's an argument to say that those professional reviewers don't use this stand as their main device. They or sim rig, they would have much higher end gear, usually, given the professionalism of their channels. And so I wanted to give the point of view from a regular user, someone who uses it every day, or at least every time I sim race. And so I feel that I can give you 3 negatives and 3 positives in a much more user-friendly, amateur kind of way, the same way that you might be considering buying this for yourself. And so now let's move on to the 3 negatives. And I have to stress at this point, I think the stand is fantastic and I'm so happy I bought it. So I'm really stretching to find 3 negatives, but they're just more criticisms overall and just want to make you aware of them. Now, one negative that William Marsh talked about over at Sim Racing Paddock, I don't consider a negative, and basically he said that compared to a solid professional sim rig, it had a little bit of sway, a little bit of sideways movement, and I have to slightly disagree with that, at least from the point of view that you've got to put it in perspective. This is a basic stand that doesn't have all the big, thick tubing that the professional rigging does. So naturally, if I push it hard enough, it's going to sway. But I took William Marsh's advice when he advised to go to the hardware store. So I went to my local hardware store and bought a pack of washers. And as I was putting it together, because there are 2 parts and 2 parts only that are plastic or have a plastic coating. All the rest is proper metal. And here's an example of the parts here. And I used washers for nearly all the screws while putting it together. And I found this rock solid, especially given the price. It is, for what should be a simple, movable stand, it is absolutely rock solid. And so the very first negative I want to talk about is more or less just a tiny criticism of maybe the company's internal processes. And what I mean by that is, so I'm in Australia and I live in Victoria, the state Victoria, which in Australia there's an online buying site called Catch of the Day, or catch.com.au. And I buy quite a few things from them, and a pattern that happens with our local Australia Post is that I place the order, so I get 5 emails. I get the email that says the order was successful. I then get the second email that says it was dispatched, and I then get an email the day before the product is going to be delivered, and this is by Australia Post, and then I get an email not only on the day to tell me it's arriving today, but I also get an email after I've signed for it to say it's been delivered. So thank you very much, Australia Post. And so this is where I'm guessing here, because I've got to assume it's Track Racer's own internal processes, because I found out that they use Australia Post anyway. And they did inform me that it had been dispatched. But I want to show you the form here where it said basically after 8 hours you can track how the parcel is going. Now, it was just a sheer fluke, but it came with another parcel, ironically, from Catch of the Day on the same day. And yet, if you look at the email here, I checked on the day that it was supposed to come, and still there was no information as shown here. Now, I've got to say this is absolute nitpicking, because I was told by them that it would arrive in 2 days, which is fantastic. But mind you, they are Melbourne based, so that was an advantage. But it came in 2 days. It came undamaged. It came by Australia Post. It was delivered when it was supposed to. So I'm truly nitpicking here. It's just a shame that when you look at this empty box here, this was taken 2 hours before it was delivered. So from that point of view, it's just a slight shame. But still, like I said, it arrived when it was supposed to and totally undamaged. And extremely well wrapped, actually. I'll show you that here. And now the second negative, again, isn't really so much a negative. I just want to make you aware of it, because it really almost has nothing to do with the stand, other than the stand plays a part in it. But it had to do with the fact that I think it's on the website that they say it takes about half an hour to put together. Now let me show you here. It comes in essentially 4 main parts. And the manual, or the instruction sheet that you get with it, has 11 steps. And I've got to say, this is where it all starts to get very good, because it was actually 10 steps, because one of the steps is actually done for you within the packaging, which is terrific. And yes, it almost took me basically exactly half an hour to put it together. So the downside of that is that if you are putting on a wheel and pedals like I did, I bought the G29 virtually at the same time, that can take you much longer. And so on that basis, I just want to make you aware that you might need overall to allow for 2 to 3 hours to put the wheel and pedals on, depending on which ones you're using and how difficult it'll be. So just as an example, I'm in Australia. We're known as the country down under, or upside down, as a lot of people joke. But that was a problem for me, because what I realised was I was also putting on the gear shift lever that comes with the Logitech G29 as an option. And what I realised was that I had the wheel upside down and was putting all the plugs in, because you put it inside the base. So just like the recessed area on the back of a high quality TV, you plug the plugs in it. But I realised that as I flipped it over, they were, of course, in the opposite direction, as you see here. So it just took my simple brain to figure out that, I had to plug them in the opposite sort of order as I flipped it over, and that just took a bit of extra time. So if you're talking about attaching the wheel, you might need that 2 or 3 hours overall to put it all together, and then make adjustments to how you feel comfortable in moving it all about. And now the third negative is a genuine negative, in the sense that the other two are really just nitpicking. They're just things that you put up with, but it's great overall. But the third negative could affect some people from the point of view, if they're very slight people. So I'm 6 foot, I'm quite a tall man, and I'll show you the picture here. This is where it's at my desk, but because it is my main computer, I don't keep it at the desk, so I have to move it away. And I just want to make you aware that with the wheel and pedals on it, now I'm using the most basic wheel, as far as, that it's just general plastic and fairly light for this type of wheel. But if you're using a much beefier wheel from Fanatec or something like that, it can actually get quite heavy. So what you could find is a slight negative from the point of view that if you are also forced to move it away from your desk so you can use your computer as normal, if there's a time where you say, you know what, I just want a 15-minute quick sim race, the fact that you have to lift it up and put it into place being quite heavy might just stop you slightly to say, oh no, you know what, I won't bother, I'll play something else. And so, because it doesn't affect me at all, because nearly all my sessions are like at least 1 hour to 5 hours, 6 hours long. So, because I'm a creator. So, that problem isn't there for me. I'm just aware of the fact that I genuinely have to arch my back like you should lift something up properly so I don't hurt myself, and it can be reasonably heavy. But I think, in fairness, the best way to sum it up is it's just awkward to pick up because of its shape. You know, you kind of pick it up under the arm, so to speak, and so that can be a bit awkward because all the weight is forward of you. So it's not so much that it's that heavy, it's just more awkward to put into position. So that's it for the negatives, and like I said, these are small nitpicking negatives. For me personally, they aren't even negatives because it all turned out for the positive. So let's move on to at least 3 of the positives about this stand. And the first positive relates back to what I was saying, was the choice of the wheel and pedals you decide to put on it will affect how heavy the overall product will become. But just the sheer amount of wheel and pedal combinations that you can put on this is terrific. So I've done a screen grab here just to show you the number of devices, and we're talking really advanced wheels and pedals that you can put on this. But I also get the impression, now I can't confirm this, but I get the impression from the website that if for whatever reason your pedal or wheel didn't quite fit, or had a problem in how to put it together, in that you wanted to buy a wheel that wasn't on the list, you could email them and they'll come up with hopefully some sort of solution, either drilling new holes or something like that, to try their very best from their end to get a compromise with the wheel and pedals you choose to buy. But the second positive I can definitely confirm because it actually happened to me, and that was the situation where, like I said, I bought the Logitech G29 with also the gear lever option that it has, and I put it all together, and I put it in what you might argue is kind of the default setting for putting the stand together, and it felt good, but it didn't feel exactly quite right, and I couldn't get over the number of options and ways you can adjust both the pedals, the gears, and the wheel, or the bracket that holds the wheel, to make those fine adjustments. And that is exactly what I did. I made 2 or 3 adjustments and it just fell into place, and it felt like my real car, to be honest. It felt that comfortable. So I emailed Track Racer and asked if I could put the official video in to show you just how versatile this is. So they gave me the permission, so let's have a look now at the official trailer of this stand. And so hopefully from that trailer you can see just how flexible and versatile this stand is for such a simple A-shaped stand. But I discovered something even more so that wasn't covered in the other two professional reviews, and that's because when you put the stand together, the outside of the four legs have this beautiful Trek Racer logo on them that covers the two legs, but on the inside of the legs you have not only one but two separate sections that have the drilled holes in order for you to adjust, so you can adjust both the top and the bottom of each individual leg. Now what I discovered, because my initial hesitation was, if I show you the desk here where I have the stand up placed against the desk, was would the legs actually fit under the desk? Would the desk be high enough? And what I realized here, and please forgive me because this is really where my amateur leanings come out, because I just don't know any other way to show this. But what I realized is, because at the bottom of the legs they have that second plastic device at the bottom of, or the feet if you like, of the bottom of the legs, that is totally adjustable. And like I said, I do recommend using washers for those so that you don't dig the bolts into the plastic themselves, but they are totally adjustable on the angle, depending on the angle you want to give the A-frame. But what you can do is you could arguably have two front legs or two back legs higher and have then the opposite legs lower, so that you get similar to the number 7, as I show you here, the two different ways you could arguably do this, based on the fact that you can rotate the bottom feet on separate angles to adjust for that slight lean. So you even have more flexibility than what the trailer shows you. And so now we come to the final positive. And in fact, I'd take it one step further, because in all professional reviews, here's the bit where they would probably put up a nice wallpaper and put up the bullet points for the negatives and the positives. But to me, that is all wiped, because, for example, with the negative of delivery, it was delivered in the 2 days when they said it was, in great condition and well packaged. The other negative of putting the wheel on, that might take you, and it might not, but it might take you 2 to 3 hours. So what? All good gear will take a while to put together when you want that next step up. And the third negative of just being slightly heavy to move, that doesn't worry me in the slightest. But the positive that I didn't even kind of comprehend is the reason that if you have come here wanting to just check out whether you think the Trek Racer FS3 Racing Simulator wheel stand is for you, then I'd highly recommend it, especially if you feel that it will fit your sim racing circumstance where you have your computer set up. And that's because the positive that came out of it, apart from being a great stand that was rock solid and highly recommended, was something that I didn't even kind of expect. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some footage of my previous older wheel, which was the Logitech Driving Force GT. And this is how I used to have it attached to the actual table of my computer. And one thing that I kind of didn't realize was there could be a strong argument to say that as you felt the force feedback through the wheel, that some of it was actually lost through the wood, or through the vibrations kind of seeped into the wooden table. And I can't say that 100% for sure, but one thing I noticed, apart from naturally that the G29 wheel will be a slightly better wheel, but the thing that came across real strongly was that the wheel stand, by using the washers and making sure everything's in the right place so you feel extremely comfortable, was that there felt like there was absolutely no force feedback loss through the metal stand just because it was so strong and secure. And what I felt genuinely, hand on heart, was as if all the force feedback sensations would then be able to be delivered through the wheel itself. So you not only felt the forces of a better wheel, but you felt all the forces that weren't lost through a wooden table or the vibrating table or whatever you have your computer on if you attached it to just the table itself. And so from that point of view, I highly recommend the TrackRacer FS3, and if you decide to get it, I hope you have some great sim racing fun with it. And like I said, I'm extremely happy with it from my own personal point of view. And so I guess there's nothing more to say except for the fact that on my sim racing channel, all the videos from now on will be featuring, of course, the G29 and the TrackRacer FS3 Racing Simulator Premium Steering Wheel Stand. Boy, that's a mouthful. So I'll do my usual sign out by saying, this is Michael signing out for Single Racer. If you like the review and you wish to subscribe, then I'll definitely catch you later. Okay, see ya.